Hey everyone, how you doing today? Sorry about my previous video. I had one out briefly and I realized that the first 14 minutes didn't have audio. I'm checking a little more closely on this one. I'm not sure exactly what had happened on the last video. It's like my mic wasn't fully engaged when I started the video and then I must have knocked it around or something and then the audio started working. Anyway, I was talking about three different things in the video. To start with, a new SV for this month's Anvil challenge to build a POI SV shooter, basically. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the vanilla update and then a little bit about the RE2 SV CPU as well. So this is what I got. It's actually kind of finished except for its paint job. It's steel-hulled, armored cockpit SV. It's pretty maneuverable. It's got at least currently it has 6 of these plasma cannons on it, or the light version. It does have a detector, Wi-Fi on the back side of the ship. Over here it does have a clone chamber, trauma station, O2, and then 8K ammo bay. Now it's running a heavy shield with 1 additional shield capacitor in it, and it has 2 1x3 generators in the build as well. So spec-wise, how it's looking right now, at least, it unlocks at level 25. That's a lot to do with the heavy shield that's in there. Does 83 forward, 83 strafing, 52 lift, 83 reverse, 23 down. The roll 49. I was actually pretty happy with the yaw on this at 81 and 38 for pitch. 4 fuel tanks, 3 oxygen tanks. Does have a detector, Wi-Fi, spotlights. Woohoo! Hour and 21-minute build time on it. So it's using about 580 estrum and zacosium in the deal there. So I was just basically trying to make a pretty maneuverable, hopefully something that can take a few hits, you know, with the shield and whatnot. Speaking of the shield strength on it is 10,335 on here. So it's all right, I think, for a shield. CPU-wise, it's a Core 7. It is really tight on the old CPU. It's 19.5 for the Core 7. It's using 19,493 out of that, so it's right to the wire. Now, beyond that, it does have additional upgrade stuff. To start with in the back here, the upgrades slot's a little weird right now. I'd like to find a better solution for this, but right now you do have to actually remove the trauma station temporarily. And then inside here, you can add in a warp drive and then 2 superior cores. You can put 1 there and 1 over here. And then you can also add an additional 1x3 generator. Now, it does already, I think I already said that, but it has 2 of those already. So I didn't, it doesn't really need that. Now, beyond that, for more guns, you do have like a weapon mount location here. You can add in some more launchers over here, and you could probably put some, certainly put some in the wingtips as well. And then another turret location down here. So it is, it's got, you know, you could do some things with it. Now, what I'm thinking when I do get this to the workshop, though, I'm going to strip it from its weapons and let you put on what you want to put on. There's so many options. And one thing I learned on this build, too, when I was first laying this out, I did this like most builds, where I'd kind of put like some guns in places, kind of like placeholders, and then figure out what I'm going to do with them later. So I had all 8 of these launcher areas filled with these guns here. And then I try to go through and add in a light Gatling turret, and it wouldn't let me. And I was like, oh, well, why isn't it let me do that? Well, if we take a look here, I was reading this wrong here. If you take a look at the plasma cannon, the light version that I do have on the ship, it does say maximum allowed 8. And I thought that just meant for this kind of weapon. That's not the case. It's for the whole weapon group. It does say something about that right below the maximum amount. So a light turret of any origin, Gatling turret, whatever, also counts in that same group. So basically you can only have 8 total light weapons. Doesn't matter if they're plasma, laser, turrets, not turrets, missiles, it doesn't matter. You can have 8. So that's how that works. Now, to increase the firepower on ships like this, or any of these SVs, you can also put on some medium size or medium group weapons. So like the better version of the plasma cannon here, you could have 4 of these on a build. So for any 4 medium weapons, and then there's also heavy weapons. So I believe you can only add 2 of those. to a build. So in addition to 8, you can also add 4 here and then another 2. So basically you're limited to a total maximum, as far as I know, of 14 weapons on a SV. According to how all this is working. So I didn't know that. I'm sure a lot of you guys already knew this. I just didn't quite understand it. I haven't ran into the situation yet where I was trying to like put more weapons of a certain type on a build yet. So it happened with this build though. So that is how it works. So you're not basically going to be up to just willy-nilly throw bazillions of weapons on a ship. It's going to be limited to kind of a hard number, and those the higher numbers are going to require going into medium and heavy versions of those. So that's just something to throw out there. So on this version here, basically, I did add in the cheaper warp drive and a couple of superior cores, and then I didn't even put in the extra generator. I don't think it needs it. But I did add 2 of the tier 2 turrets on here, so a couple Gatling turrets just to see how the numbers would come out. And it's so basically this is now a core 9. It was a core 7, and now it went to a core 9. So I added in the superior cores to the build out here, and it's got some extra CPU, so it's not playing super nice on the CPU on weapons. I don't really have enough to add 2 more tier 1s or necessarily upgrade a couple tier 1s to tier 2s. So it's kind of this weird off in between number that kind of sucks. But that's where I can get it to at a core 9. Of course, things could be tweaked out a little bit more with its guns and stuff like that. And of course, by adding those parts in here, like the warp drive and the 2 extra turrets and the CPU cores, it did reduce its flight stats. It was 83, now it's 72. So literally lost 11 on pretty much all your main directions here by adding those extra parts to the build here. The build cost time didn't go up very much though, but it did, of course. You now need quantum cores for those superior cores in there, or quantum processors, which you're going to have to get out of POIs, I do believe. Might not be a bad thing. It's just that's what's needed for it. So there is that. Okay, so my plan on releasing this thing is, again, I'll strip it from its guns, and I'm thinking probably either Sunday or Monday I will get this to the workshop. I'll have it all painted up by then. It will be a Skaar build again, kind of build it. I probably, it feels like it could work as a Skaar. Probably the best setup there. One last little thing I don't think I showed is the main core in this build is down over here. There's a little flappy door here, and I tried to put it in a safe spot. So beyond this is also a steel wall here, and then you probably got some like cargo extensions and whatnot in the area, and then it's kind of wrapped in the middle of the ship, trying not to get blown up this time. We'll see how that works out. So it's kind of like the opposite approach of putting the core right in front of the pilot. I'm just trying to keep the core. I mean, I guess if you took a wallop of a hit and it blew up the whole thing, I don't know if it would quite get the core or not, though. I'm not sure if that's the best way to go about it either. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about here is some updates to the vanilla game. And the first update I want to show is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. See this part over here? See what it's doing? It's spinning! So yes, the generators now spin again. So we have spinny generators. They haven't spun for quite a long time now. Now beyond that, there is a new set of parts for builds, and there's streetlights. So we have streetlights, and there's actually a whole bunch of these, and what they actually are is kind of like a light. There's some different models. Some of these are pretty interesting. See, some of them are spawned out over here. They could be used for some interior decor on a CV or base. Not for SVs, though, or HVs. But quite a few different models. Some look like actual streetlights, like this one here. But every one of these, once you spawn it in, they're just like a light. If you hop into your menu here, you can configure them to their color and range and modes and blinky and all that stuff. So they're just like any other light. They're just different models, essentially. But it's kind of cool. Some new options for lighting. I could see some uses for some of these, especially some of these parts like that. Could be some interesting hallway pieces or something like that. Could work for certain things. So there is that in vanilla. And the last thing in vanilla, and I can't really demonstrate this very good here, right now at least, is if you ever seen those Taurus designs or the like the big donut, you know, the big space station kind of yeah, Taurus. You've seen a few of these builds that I've even looked at in some of the look at the workshop videos, where there's basically opposing gravity generators pointing at different directions, so you can walk around a ring and basically defy gravity, or just keep gravity going, so you can kind of walk along the whole inner edge upside down and all in reality. And it works. And yeah, I've seen a few builds do that now. It's a pretty cool concept. It was a bit jerky going from one gravity zone to another before, though. It was kind of like you'd walk and you're walking at a like 90-degree angle, and then you suddenly shift over to like 180-degree angle. So it kind of jolts you, going from, you know, a gravity generator pointed one direction to a gravity generator pointed in a different direction. Now it's a way smoother about it. So those kinds of designs work better than they ever did before. I mean, they already worked. It's just they'll work better now. So I think that's really cool. That really takes those builds and, you know, just makes them better than what they were yet. So that is a very cool thing. I can't really demonstrate that here right now, at least in this video. So I was challenged to build one of those kinds of creations too. So one of these days I might have to try a one of that type. I have not built anything quite like that before, or anything very close to that at all, really. So it would be kind of a fun build to try that out. Okay, so another thing I want to talk about in the last part here is essentially, I just kind of want to get your guys' take on how you feel about the CPU with SVs in RE2. Right now, I'm not really super happy with it. I guess I built, I tried 3 of those little SV miners, like a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 kind of thing. And they were problematic to get going, but, you know, finally worked through it and got at least a couple of them working. But I just remember back in the day, like early day, like we're talking like Alpha 6, Alpha 8, Alpha 9, somewhere in there. You could build SVs like this. This was back before the game had CPU at all. There was no Reforged Eden, it was just vanilla. And there wasn't CPU, so you didn't really have limitations. You could build something big, lots and lots of thrusters, guns, you name it. There were weapon limits, like you could only put so much of one type of weapon on a ship. And of course, you could even turn that off as an option, so you could, like, I didn't particularly like that weapon limit because it would, like with rocket launchers or something, it would only allow you to put 4 rocket launchers on a build. But since you can't set up weapon groups in this game, you could not, like, fire another kind of fixed weapon at the same time as those. So basically the whole idea to get your most amount of DPS on something with you know, limited amount is to have them all the same. So I didn't particularly like that, but it was kind of fun being able to build kind of really whatever you wanted, whatever size it was. And obviously, as you build them up and they get bigger and they got more and more parts and stuff going on in them, they're more expensive. Like these things over here are really expensive in comparison to this new ship over there. But this was, you know, what you could do in vanilla, and it was kind of fun, you know. I mean, sometimes you want to build something small. Sometimes it's a lot of fun to build something new. You weren't penalized for doing this. It was kind of cool. Once vanilla added CPU to the game, it was a lot more restrictive. So you couldn't quite, like, neither of those ships would work anymore. You have to have, like, smaller, less thrusters, less CPU usage all around. This ship, the Skaar Glaive, was originally built for vanilla tier 4 after the CPU came into the game. And basically, I could put, you can kind of see what kind of loadout this has on it. It has quite a lot of fixed weapons, and then it has some turrets in there and some more fixed weapons out here, a whole lot of thrusters. It's got the warp and the shield and the other stuff going on as well. So, I mean, you could build this. This was a Core 9 build. And this particular one we're looking at actually was a modified version for Reforged Eden 1. I forget the author that did this, so it's not in the description here, unfortunately. It just says my author name. But this was actually modified by another author, and I wanted to compare how Reforged 1 Core 9 builds compared to Reforged Eden 2 Core 9 builds in SVs. If you take a look at the CPU on this one, don't mind the top number. It doesn't have the right core configuration in here to make it work in RE2 that I'm showing this in. But you can see the total amount of CPU used is 36,785. And another thing on top of that is not all, but some of the thrusters on here are of the ion variant. And to have apples to apples with Reforged Eden 1 thrusters of the same size, you'd actually need the plasma variants, which are more expensive in CPU. So some of these thrusters, a lot of them actually are the ion thrusters. So to get it up to where it was, you would have to upgrade these to plasmas, which is going to be additional CPU on top of that. So now, if we take a look at this chip over here, this has a RE2 Core 9 setup in it, and that gives you 26,000 CPU. We just seen the other one down there was 36,745 and needed a bunch of thrusters upgraded. So basically, you can get a whole lot less on a RE2 SV than you can an RE1 SV. Quite a lot less, actually. I mean, pretty significant difference here. Like this is about 3 times the ship, actually, as what this one is. If you count the thrusters and the guns and everything else going on in that ship, it is just way more stuff there than this one has. So I mean, how do you guys feel about this? I mean, I mean, there's different ways to look at it. Obviously, the whole weapon setup is different in RE2. You know, these ships are more engineered, I would say, less wasteful, and they got to be because of the strict limitations on CPU and things like that. But at the same time, I guess personal feeling is, it really sucks not being able to build what you want to build anymore. It just like in the past when it was I would probably honestly say a lot more fun to build. I was able to do whatever the heck I wanted, and it was cool. And it was kind of a hit when we had a confined to CPU, and then RE1 CPU, and now we're in RE2 CPU, and each time it's more and more and more restrictive. Now it's cool sometimes for those engineering kind of builds, and those are enjoyable to do sometimes. At the same time, it really sucks that, you know, like 75% of my SV designs, I just gotta, that would never work in game unless it's just a fluff mobile. And it's like, I think it's really personally super restrictive on what you can do with these now. I mean, I know it all is about balancing, and I think, you know, another thing, obviously, because you're limited on, you know, how many actual guns you can have operational on a creation at one time. It's probably going to help a little bit with the frame rate as well, because there's going to be less projectiles the game engine's going to have to be thinking about. You know, some of these creations that had bazillions of turrets, you know, they will cause performance problems. So I think it's in part to kind of deal with that as well, which is really cool. I mean, I'm not saying it's all bad or anything like that. It's just, I guess, as in building in general, it was a whole lot more fun to build back when you could do whatever the heck you wanted versus now. Now it's so tight and restrictive. It's like it's like you're trying to build Indy cars, but they all pretty much are the same because they got to be the same, or they don't work, or they break rules. You know, so it's that's just my opinion. I just wanted to see what you guys think about the whole situation with that. I mean, I'm just trying to be kind of unbiased, but you know, if you got a lot of good comments on it and stuff like that, I think the RE devs might want to know that too. I mean, I'm sure it's, you know, everything that they're doing kind of makes sense, you know, with how the cores are working and the gun systems are working. I get that now. It's just, to me, I don't know. Personally, my personal opinion is I think these SVs, CPU cores, they just ought to have more. It just seems like it's just too little. There's a lot of neat SV parts and stuff that you could use, some new stuff and lots of stuff, and it's like I can't imagine ever using them because you'll never be able to afford them unless everything you build requires, you know, 4 aux cores and quantum cores and just the whole ball of wax, and you like Core 13 builds, which is a lot of, you know, braid and POIs and stuff in the game. I guess, you know, if they, you know, that's all right, I guess, but I don't know. every time just a hit, hit again, and now this is now a Core 9 build, which I would, if I looked at this and how it's set up, I would think this is like about a Core 5, maybe this one with the warp drive and the stuff. I don't know, maybe a Core 7, but I wouldn't think it's a Core 9. I just wouldn't think of that. Something else I wanted to bring up in the video, and this is just kind of a weird off-the-wall thing. Obviously, I got this Skaar oddball creation out. I kind of liked it. The Ridge Rat, it's the workshop for a few days now. And right after I put it out there and I took all the screenshots and all that stuff, there's a comment that came in, and I had rocket thrusters in here. And a comment came up and said, hey, how do I get the rocket thrusters for the build? And then someone else replied to that and said, oh, you got to go talk to a vendor at so-and-so and you can buy these rocket thrusters. And then I looked at that, and I'm like, oh, man, I need to get rid of those. I do not want you to have to go buy some special part for this ship, so I just got rid of them. Now, I was only using them as placeholders to look like regular thrusters, but yeah, if you got to go seek out a vendor, get in-game currency to buy these so you could put in placeholders in the creation, then I don't even know why they're why they're there. I thought, they could use them as placeholders for real thrusters, and they look better than placeholders for thrusters, So, yeah, that part kind of sucks. So I ended up updating the build on the workshop, got rid of those thrusters. It looked better with them there, but I did not want you to have to go to a vendor to go buy them so you could spawn this in. That just makes no sense to me. And in fact, then I was thinking about it. I'm like, why in the world would you ever want the rocket thrusters? They're basically placeholders. They have a little bit of thrust power to them, but yeah, I mean, if you got to go buy them before you can spawn in, even like not real high-end builds or anything like that, it just made no sense to me. Like, I would never use them again, or ever want them for any reason in the game. If they use regular resources like iron and cobalt and stuff that the other thrusters use, it would be no problem at all. I mean, if they're cheap, whatever, that's cool. Or practically free, like a deco part. That's really all I want, is just a deco thruster I can put in and call it a day. If it was weightless or very little weight, that would be great. No CPU usage. I don't want any thrust power out of it. I don't want it to do anything. I just want it to look like one of these. That's it. That's all I want it to do. But I thought that was the option for it. But yeah, at least how they're set up now, I would never use it again for anything. I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know if that's just like a little bit of oversight, or I'm not getting something about what these rocket thrusters are for, and maybe I misinterpreted that. So yeah, if you got any comments on that too, I'm kind of curious on it. And again, I apologize for the lack of audio. If you happen to catch the first video, I did delete that video before starting to record this one, so it's no longer there. And one last thing, very, very last thing I want to talk about a little bit is performance in the game. My performance sucks bad. I got my video settings worst I've ever had them. Honestly, if we go through the whole list, I got to keep this NVIDIA TLSS on. I do have it on quality, but it makes it a lot blurrier and fuzzier. I don't like that. I have global illumination low. I have dynamic shadows low. Terrain tessellation, this low, that low. I still have this on. Maybe I could get rid of that too. I guess I do have this on, but that's the texture quality with the 3D stuff. I did keep shadow quality on high. I know this can cause a little performance problems, but I want to see people's creations with proper shadows at least, including my own when I'm building them and setting up lights and stuff. I want to see that. Tree quality low, level of detail distance, I have that on high. That would like how far away can you see a thruster on a build. I want it to be maximum range, again, for looking at builds. I don't want thrusters and parts to disappear. My camera's a little bit too far away from it. I do have screen space reflections off. I try to keep bloom on for a little bit of the lighting effect things, but it doesn't never really caused me a performance problem before. Deco distance I kept on far too. Again, kind of like the LOD distance. I wanted to see the decorations on ships from as far out as I can see them. So basically, that's how my video settings are. And even with that said, it's kind of blurry. I'm getting graphical glitches. And right now it's kind of hard to tell because my settings are low, but I even get choppy even at this if I'm looking at something with thrusters and lights and stuff working. So it's just a real pain in the butt. Now my video card is a RTX 2080, and I'm using a 6-core Intel i7 CPU. Both these are of probably a good 6 years at least old now. So they're not spring chickens. I know there's better gear out there and stuff like that, but I don't really have problems with other games I'm playing at this time. Even much more graphical games. So this one just has really been sucking with performance as of late, and it's not getting better. It just seems to get worse. So I don't know. I did get a comment about that, asking like what are my settings and stuff like that. So I just wanted to go over that. That's what's going on with my PC and my settings. Yeah, it's the worst performance I ever got in this game, and I swear it just keeps getting worse and worse. It's just like, and I'm not sure why. I don't really see anything looking better. In fact, I think the lighting looks worse than it used to, but the performance is getting worse. And now it's like, I'm even running this at a lower resolution. This monitor does 3440 by 1440, but even since I'm doing a video now, I'm recording it at 2560 by 1440 for the 16:9 aspect ratio for the YouTube video. So it's a lot easier than trying to adjust it after the fact, for sure. So I'm even running it at lower resolution on top of all that, and I'm still having issues. And it's especially bad when I get close to stuff and it starts jittering around like this. And it is much worse if I turn the DLSS off. Let me do that a second. I'll just turn it right off. Things look sharper now, but now, yeah, you get the idea. It's pretty chunky, I guess. Choppy, maybe chunky is not here's with the frame rate meter up on at least the in-game one. So it says I'm getting like 30 around here, but I don't know. It certainly doesn't feel like it, that's for sure. It's jittering so bad it feels like I'm getting 10 frames a second. Not this. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I've been struggling with the game. A lot of these settings were put into place because I do the look at the workshop videos where I have a lot of things spawned, generally in a tight location, and with all the lighting and effects and stuff going on. Yeah, it's killing my computer, honestly. I'm trying to just find the right balance to look the best and with the best performance I can get at that. So anyway, I will end the video there, and please let me know how you feel about the RE2 stats with SVs specifically. Do you think it's working out pretty good, or do you think it's a little low on what CPU you're getting on SVs? I'm just curious on you guys' opinion. All right, other than that, you all have yourself a great day. I'll talk to you later.